Greetings, folks. What's going on? Jason Damico here with the Jason Damico Show, and as always, very special guest on the show. This guy and I go way back. A lot of crazy times, a lot of great memories, and yeah, we'll leave it at that. But he's got some really cool things in the works. Fellow audio engineer, musician, artist, really talented, under the name Sea of Tranquility with what he's doing now musically. Definitely check out their stuff, and we'll be talking about that here in just a few minutes. But please welcome to the show my good friend and guest today, Mr. Worth Fitz.
How's it going?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
You and I have been through some strange times together. We won't go into detail, but
we probably can't.
I feel like they've prepared us for now. During these strange times. if you were to agree, I don't know, but
I agree 100%.
So beginning stages for you, and I know your story fairly well. I'm sure there's going to be some things I learned more about you though with this kind of like intensive sit down, so to speak. But beginning stages for you musically, how did you get into it? A lot of you're kind of like myself, a lot of different styles, a lot of different genres. Walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much been playing guitar since I was 14. And I've been in bands and writing music. I mean, pretty much as soon as I could play a chord. And I started off doing metal music, did that for a few years. Actually ended up going to college for music production, audio engineering. Through college, I was making hip hop beats actually and selling those. But actually, I learned a lot about producing, mixing, all that. It actually trained me quite a bit during that stage. And now I'm doing a project called Sea of Tranquility. It's really poppy, synthwave, pop punk kind of sound. I don't know how really to describe it, but it's really just music that I like. It's not trying to fit in any boundaries or anything, just, doing something that I like.
Yeah. The metal thing real quick. I remember you were playing me some of the stuff in your playlist, and it was just because I thought I was into some hardcore stuff, but this is like a whole other level. When did that come about? Who were some of those main influences? Just like, I don't even know, what is it, like deathcore almost, or
yeah, I got really into. Yeah, I was super into deathcore in like late high school. I mean, just like anybody playing guitar, I grew up on like Metallica and everything, and so that got me my foot in the door with like metal, but then it was on to like a lot more of the like harder kind of bands and more technical kind of stuff. So it's super fun to play. And but I mean, just like anything else, you kind of get tired of the scene. I mean, I was playing a bunch of shows with a band there, and you just, it got a little tiresome. It was like, all right, I got to try something else. I still like metal music. I listen to it quite a bit, but it's not really my inspiration as much anymore.
Do you think there's much of a scene for it now? I feel like I don't know. I'm not going to say it's dying off, because it's not, but
right.
It's definitely not as potent as it was like 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean?
There's always a scene for it, and I think it's very small, it's very niche. And I'm not in music to make money, but I do want my music to be heard.
Right.
And there's a very small population that listens to like very hardcore metal music. So I just kind of wanted to break outside of that confine,
right,
and try something a little different. Because once you've played in a metal band like that, and I played different venues around, and you see the same people over and over again. You're playing with the same other local bands, and that's great. It's fun. You build, it's a community, but you know, been there, done that.
Right. Right. Well, and I think, and you'll probably agree with me with this, uh, it's the more influences you have, the better. Like
Absolutely.
it's just gonna make. I have such respect for guys kind of like the Trent Reznor route,
Hmm.
where anything goes. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to be good, or it's going to be thought provoking and emotionally stimulating,
Hmm.
but anything goes soundscape wise. And I think, especially with the Sea of Tranquility stuff, from what I've heard thus far, it's like a lot of different influences, which is
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, definitely. I get a lot of like inspiration from like 80s kind of sounds,
Yes.
and just make it a little bit more modern, but I also have like super punk kind of influences, so like, especially vocally, um, you'll hear a lot of that in there.
And you're starting to do you are doing the vocals now, right?
Hmm. Yeah, the last two songs, In the Moment and Alive, I've done the vocals on.
I think they're great vocal performances.
I appreciate that.
And you've always done vocals from a background standpoint
Hmm.
live. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
did the switch come about for you? Was it just um out of lineup change, or just like, why not, give it a shot?
Some of both. It really came down to, I had a singer that was in the band, and he helped with the lyrics and everything, especially with Young and 1 a.m., the last two songs that
Hmm.
came out before. And to me, music is everything, and this is a full-time job to me,
Yep.
and he just didn't have that time to commit to it, and so I took over on vocals, and you know it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I've explored a different route of creativity that I haven't quite dipped my toe in as much before, with lyric writing and vocal performance. But I've had a blast with it, and I can just kind of work at my pace now. I'm I've got a whole bunch of songs written that I will kick over to the drummer, and he'll kind of come up with parts for that, and we'll get together and record those, and then I'll edit that, and then so I've got a couple I'm sitting on right now. I've got one that just really needs to be mixed, and that'll be out soon. Um, the way the everything's going with the COVID-19, it's releasing music is a little bit different. Um, so I'm kind of feeling that out before I just kick another song out.
Right. Right. I
Yeah,
think everybody is. We were
yeah,
just talking about it before we switched over to live.
yeah.
Uh and it's you know, I've put some things creatively on hold to host more podcasts and have more
Mhm.
guests on, because everybody's sitting around, and it
Yeah.
just from a human psyche point of view, it just feels good to talk to people.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it does.
So cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about creative process while we're kind of talking a little bit about gear, a little bit
Yeah.
about new endeavors. Um, what is the process for you usually?
So it's usually, I'll either sit down at the keyboard or sit down with my guitar, and I'll get either a riff or just a cool chord progression that I like. And then I start adding more synth parts, a lead synth, throw in like a kick drum. I just jam out. And the next thing I know, I've got this whole instrumental built, and I'm like, okay, I've got kind of a vocal idea coming along for it. Vocals are always, kind of the icing on the cake for it for
Hmm.
me. I'll pretty much always have an instrumental done before I'm even thinking about vocals. I may have some lyrics written, and then I'm like, oh, this pairs perfectly with that.
Right.
And then I'll go and I'll come up with a melody, and especially like I'll start working out the melody, but then it's not really until I'm actually recording the vocals that I really flesh that out. especially with like harmonies, background vocals. All that just kind of comes naturally when I'm recording the vocal parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, it always just starts either with the guitar or the keyboard.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I find it's a lot easier to put words to music.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing, and you being a Metallica guy as well, you've probably scoured some of those old videos of Hetfield and Ulrich,
Mm-hmm.
during their process. And it's funny to listen to some of the songs that, like, it's like crappy four track cassette recordings in the
Yeah.
late 80s, early 90s. But you could hear the melody line totally there, but there's no words. It's
Right.
just
Right.
Hetfield doing his like,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's Unforgiven, but there's no
Yeah.
words. So it's, and I looked at my own writing style. I was like, wow, I actually kind of do the same thing. So,
Right.
but it's for me, it's, and like you, it's a little bit easier to put, because I know people where they'll take a whole set of lyrics and
Yeah.
put them to the music. That's really hard for me to, from a from a syllable standpoint,
Uh-huh.
to put that together. Have you ever had success with that?
Almost never. No. I mean, I kind of start to get an idea of what I want the song to be about while I'm crafting it.
Right.
And then the lyrics will kind of flow. I'll start off with a hook, and then I'll just build it all around the hook,
Yeah.
verses and the bridge and everything. And that flows a lot more naturally to me than trying to compose music that fits a set of lyrics that I already have.
With the mixing process, what are you looking for in a mix? Like for you, and maybe a good place to start would be influences, like maybe your top 3
Hmm.
production influences over the years. Everybody's got their own. I was just
Hmm.
curious. I don't even know if you and I ever had this conversation
Yeah, I don't
prior.
know that we have. um, yeah, I'm always trying to listen to new music, especially anytime I'm driving around. I'm on Spotify. I'm looking at new releases, because it's good to have different influence.
Right.
Whether you like it or hate it, you got to have different influences coming in. So mix influences change every single song I put out, and you may even be able to tell if you listen to different mixes, like the way the drums sound in this one or the way the vocals sound in this one. Um, right now, my biggest like mix influences, I've really gotten into a band called The Midnight. I
Okay.
really like the way. I really like the way that their production sounds. And I just found out about a new band called Nick Mystery, and they're really cool. They've actually got from what I understand, some of the guys from Periphery are in there, which is a metal band. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah,
them.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, actually they're pretty big metal band, but they also do this, like, a couple of the guys have like this synthwave pop kind of project. It's super cool. I feel like I'm getting a lot of influence from that, the way that sounds, because they're kind of approaching it as metal guys, and
Right.
then putting their kind of mix on this poppy kind of sounded music, which
Right.
I just think is really cool. And the way it's coming out is just it's awesome. So
It's
that's been a
fun.
big reference.
It's funny because pop and metal, for some reason, there's this weird overlap. I don't know what it is
Yeah.
exactly. Like, you just throw in a synth or a keyboard playing a hook and it just
Uh-huh.
works.
Yeah.
Maybe because frequency wise, there's a lot of low end
Yeah.
information, and then just having that thing kind of up there sitting where the
Right.
vocal would be during the hook, and then the vocal comes out. I don't know. It's just like, you think of Rammstein, and they've
Yeah.
got kind of that, like, I mean, it's brutal as hell, but they've got that kind of like pop
They do. They do.
thing, like this is
Really chanty kind of
yeah, it's
part you can
hooky. It's
latch on
not,
to.
yeah. It's like quarter note pulse and hooky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that everything has to be quarter note pulse, but
No, but
you know. All right, so yeah, mixing. I've got a couple of things here. Genre, we kind of went over that. Producing in general, what would you say would be, what are you looking for in performances on tape or on digital medium, producing in general? uh and it's funny because you were under Craig Brandwin, right, at
Mm-hmm.
Living
Yeah.
Arts. I gotta have Craig on. I just remember that. I gotta email him.
Yeah.
That'll be hilarious. But I know Craig always talked about performances and capturing what's there.
Mm.
I, you and I have had this conversation before. I already know where you're going with this, but for the viewers, what are your thoughts on that, and kind of what are you looking for when you're working with a vocalist or you're producing yourself?
Mm.
Maybe for some of the younger guys out there in their later teen years, working on some of this stuff.
Yeah. So for me, as far as like recording parts, guitar wise, I tend to I like it to be clean, super tight to the super tight to the metronome,
To the grid,
but
yeah.
leave room for the humanness in it.
Right.
Like if your style is maybe a little sloppy, play those chords a little sloppy.
Play into it.
Um, yeah,
Like
and
be committed to whatever it is that it's,
yeah.
make those choices.
Yeah, and vocally, I've never had like any vocal training or anything. It's just I'm going after like the like raw like emotion kind of in it. Um, chase the emotion, especially like with vocals. Let people hear that in your vocals. Let it come out. Like go for that over trying to be pitch perfect.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and you can fix all that in Melodyne later anyway. But
Yeah, exactly. Now it's turning into a sound. I mean,
right.
it's just not even, you're not even hiding it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked, Post Malone has come up a couple of times in past episodes,
Mm-hmm.
where for me, he's like the first guy that I could really like handle, because that the talent is there. They're just using
Yeah.
it for a specific sound. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but yeah, they're just not hiding it anymore. It's in plain daylight.
Yeah.
I think trap ushered that in to a certain degree, but
It did.
you know, um, what are you looking for as far as with your songwriting? What is there a common theme these days?
Yeah. So for me, I want my music to be positive, you know. And I know like everyone says that, but like but really, like, we all like have dark things we're going through. We don't have to like celebrate the darkness. We don't have to, there is a greater outcome. And
Yeah,
a lot of my music, it has a very spiritual meaning. I feel like it's I don't write it so it's in black and white, like an obvious like worship kind of song.
right.
But like my latest release, Alive, is super like it's all about God, absolutely 100%.
Yeah,
About like coming through like a rough time, and then the bridge, all of our problems forgotten, thrown in the fire, they're burning. It's all like super spiritual to me,
yeah. In a metaphoric
in a
fashion.
metaphoric kind of
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Which I think is great, and we've had this conversation. I know we've had this conversation. I think it's great because it just keeps the door open for the listener, and because certain people may not be able to grasp the actual message. I think it's interesting when you have a song and it really does mean something a little bit different for somebody else, but they're still
Mhm.
getting musical and emotional value out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, well, bringing that up, I wrote down the word faith. Again, we've had this conversation. Anything you want to talk about with that as far as creative process or goals or just your inner core,
Hmm.
if you will?
Hmm. Well, like I said, I want my music to be positive. I want it to carry people through, for people to see it as an inspiration to come through dark times. Like a lot of my songs are kind of about going through those tough times, but that there's a positive,
right.
There, there's hope in the future. There's always hope, and that's what my music is about. Is hope.
Especially
And
these days.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on what's going on as far as the live music scene and a lot of things turning virtually right now? And I mean, you and I are obviously we'd be having this discussion in person, but because of COVID, we're playing it safe. What do you think? What's next?
Personally, it's not had as great of an effect on me, because I have a live band. We've played a couple of shows before. We're kind of at a transitional kind of point, me moving over to vocals, that I'm kind of restructuring the live band. So it personally gives me a chance to, release a little bit more music, and work on restructuring this, have a few more rehearsals with the band. That's what I'm taking the time to do. I think it's super unfortunate, the effect that it's had on a lot of live bands or a lot of bands who are relying on touring for income. I think it'll probably have an overall good effect when we come out of this, because everybody will be, ready to go out and support local music.
Yeah.
That's the hope anyway,
Yeah.
Everybody's itching to get out of the house right now. And I think it'll drive people to more shows as soon as this is over,
Yeah. I saw an article. I don't even know. I didn't really. I'll be honest with you. I didn't read it. I just somebody sent it in a group chat, and I just didn't have time.
I was inspired by the title of the article.
I was inspired by the first 5 words of this article. And it basically was saying that things really may not be back to normal. They're extrapolating out to summer of 2021. And I'm like, all right, rescue me, baby.
Yeah.
And we'll keep that to ourselves. That's our little inside joke that nobody will ever know about.
That's right.
That's too good to give out to the world.
Yeah.
So, it just makes you think. It just makes you think. Now, for us, like as creatives, like locked down in our studio, you see those memes like with music producers. Been in quarantine training my whole life, and it's got a picture of them like with Pro Tools in the background and all their gear. It's like, it's the creative process is basically a mini shutdown anyway. So this is just this is economically and unfortunately people are dying from it, but it's just like there's kind of that normality though from the artistic standpoint of it almost feels somewhat what's going on outside in the world is almost from an artistic standpoint what we kind of deal with in the internal. I don't know if you agree with that to a certain standard.
I tend to be more of a glass half full kind of guy. So I'm not letting myself believe that it's going to go until summer 2021. Right. I just can't allow myself
can't go there
like that. But it's been weird because I had actually written that song January, February, and it was coming towards the time to release it. I had set the release date a month before, back in February, and before we had any idea it was going to get like this, and I remember just being like, it was like Wednesday and things are going to lockdown and like, you're like, what's going on? Like what, it was a Wednesday before I was going to release a song in like 2 days. And I'm just like a wreck. I'm just like in tears because I'm like, okay, well, great. Like we're all going to die, but I've put in like months and months into like, writing a song and recording it and mixing it. And it comes out Friday and like, who cares if we're all going to die? You know,
so bad. It's so bad, man.
Yeah. So it's been an emotional kind of roller coaster for me. But I'm hopeful about it. You know, I'm writing. I'm just gonna keep working on music and doing my thing and hoping that this ends sooner than they're predicting, you know?
Right. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
All you can do. So Live is out. You talked about it a little bit earlier. Anything you want to add to that? Because I know it is the new single.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's the first like full song that I've done with vocals on it with this project. I'd released In the Moment, which is more of a like interlude kind of song. Just kind of a transitional piece from like, hey, here we go from this kind of sound of Sea of Tranquility over to this new kind of sound. Um, I, you know, I, like I said, I wrote it, you know, back in January, the lyrics anyway. And it's just kind of weird how relevant I feel the lyrics are in this time. You know, wake me up, am I dreaming, is this real life? You know, I mean, that's how I feel every day now, you know. And
right.
it was just kind of a thought back then, but now it's like, wow, this is like this is real life, you know.
Little prophetic.
Yeah, it was. But it's been good. You know, even when I listen to it now, I'm like, yeah, this is a good message for right now in this time.
Right, for sure. Future plans for you. Whenever this question's come up, I always ask this question to everybody, but these days it's like you really don't know. But as far as that, what do you think? What are you working on besides all of this? 5-10 years out, if you were to project that far, which is impossible at this point, but still gonna ask the question.
Yeah. I mean, for right now, for 2020, it's unfortunate. I had a couple of music video ideas planned out for songs that I'm just gonna have to release before we can, you know, everybody can get together to do a music video. You know,
Yeah.
it's a shame. I'd done a lot of planning. But it's like, hey, you know, these songs have to get heard. I can't just sit on it for a year in hopes of doing a video, you know?
Right.
So I've got some songs I'm going to kick out. I know more inspiration will come, more new songs will come for videos. So for 2020, and this was my goal back in 2019, was just, hey, 2020 is going to be the single year. I'm just going to put out a bunch of singles, you know? Probably around 8 is kind of what I'm predicting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one probably every like 6 weeks or so. Aside from now, there's kind of that pause that I'm taking. I've got the songs ready to be released, but I'm just kind of taking a pause, like what's the best route as I, you know, figure out analytics and everything going on, you know, with Google Ads and with Spotify and, you know, just the way the wheel is turning with music releases right now. And 2021, I'm hoping we'll be out of this, and then I'll be able to do a little bit more with my live band.
Yeah. No, I did the single thing 2019, and I'm so glad I did it because of where we're at now.
Yeah.
Because I had all that, and it wasn't like I had no idea that this was going to happen, but it's a lot of work. Because I think I did like 5. I did 5 singles, and it was one every month with a music video.
Yeah.
And that's really the time-consuming part of it, is the music video.
Yeah.
And the marketing.
Oh yeah.
And you know how it is. So who directed what, I'm trying to remember the one with you guys out in the field with the TVs.
Video for 1 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 a.m.
Yeah, that was a production company, Core One, and they just did a fantastic job. I mean, they met the vision perfectly. You know, I was super happy with the work they did.
Yeah. So you guys were overseeing that then? I know that you're editing video constantly with what you do. I imagine you're probably going to be doing more of that now because of
I pretty much create like all the content, graphics, a lot of the video aside from, of course, Core One shot and edited the video for 1 a.m. And then I had a production company do the lyric video for Alive. But those are kind of the only things I've outsourced with the project.
Right.
So probably I'll do more lyric videos like that for the singles that are coming out, just so there's something visual, cool to watch. I hate not being able to do the music video images that I've had in mind, but we'll make it work.
Yeah. I've got something at the end that I like to do. I call it the shootout section, and I always think it's the best when there's two audio guys in the house because it takes the conversation and makes it like 5 times longer. No, I'm just kidding. It's happened before, but I just say a word and you just kind of say a word back, and it's all industry related. So, just curious to see what's going on in that brain.
Okay.
Drums.
Snare.
Bass.
Kick.
Interesting. Okay. Electric guitar.
Subs.
Wow. Acoustic guitar.
Strings.
Wow. All right. Room mics.
AKG.
Yeah. Yeah. Vocal mic.
AKG.
Oh, 2 in a row. I thought you were going to say Neumann.
I've used a Neumann before. For me, I like the AKG.
What are you using right now? The 414?
The 414.
So you're doing that for vocal then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a really clear mic.
It is. I like it. I mean, now that I've done a couple songs with it, it's like I don't really like anything else I'm trying with it,
It works for the sound.
Yeah.
I need a lot of help. I have to revert to saturation and distortion or two.
Oh, I mean, I use that, There's the what's that plugin that we both use that saturation?
The saturation.
Yeah.
So
red hot of plugins.
That's right. That still sticks with me like 2 years later after you said that.
I know. I think about it every time I pull up that plugin. I'm like, yep, this is the somewhere Jason's doing the same exact thing.
It's funny. I not quite as much. I still do it like on I'll do it on mid-range stuff or I'll do it on bass. Yeah. I don't really do it much on anything else anymore. Primarily because I got a couple more analog pieces that are doing it for me.
Right.
And it's just there. You can dial it in, you print the stem and whatever. And it forces you to commit. It saves up CPU space. Yeah. It's like whatever. My friend actually, I can't believe I'm saying this. My friend actually gave me a U-47 clone.
Wow. It's a good friend.
Yes. He's definitely going to get a bottle of scotch when this is all over with.
Yeah.
And it was right before quarantine. Who would have known?
Right.
So, yeah, it's the Lewitt LCT 940. It's been around for a while, but bro.
Yeah.
Like, dude. Yeah, it's that for me, right? Vocal mic, that's like
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I love the 414s though. I for my vocal, like I need more help because it's lower register.
Right.
So it's just like it's just not going to I have to do all this post stuff in the mixing process for it to give it all that love.
Yeah.
The 414s are great
it's got a nice bright sound which I like.
The 214 I've had for years and it's found it's been for what, like $250. It's great
Yeah.
for acoustics. It's a good room mic.
Yeah, not so much vocals, but it's not a bad mic for 250. Yeah.
Yeah, I've used it on vocals before. There's a couple of frequency, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a couple of frequencies that get really stuck with it, and you got to tuck them. It can be a little harsh, but yeah, and also cabinets too. It doesn't do too well.
Nah.
Unless you want to
something about the
tuck it in
mid-range.
Unless you want to tuck it underneath and just have that crap bouncing around for a little bit of saturation, then it works. Then any mic will work for that, but not for a main, acoustics. It's great. Put it right at the 12th fret. It works really well.
Yeah.
You were going to say something. I thought you were.
I don't remember.
Maybe we'll come back. Synth.
Synthwave.
Yeah. Piano.
Synth.
EQ.
Saturation.
Oh, really? Dude, you're killing me, man. You got to tell me the thought process behind that, or just where you're coming from. I gotta hear. Okay. So you're saying, so you're basically saying you're going to use saturation as an EQ thing at times.
Well, I think I'm saying the EQ, I will use EQ to add color sometimes, Okay. Saturation I also use to add color. So it's kind of, it's not the same, but to me, they're both color kind of plugins.
Okay. That's interesting. Compression.
H-comp.
Oh, okay. One of those guys. Hey there, guy. Hey. You do a lot better than I do. Reverb.
Let's see. I just got a whole bunch of new plugins, so I'm kind of like,
you're in a feast.
Yeah. I'm still kind of learning about what they all do, and my mind's kind of bouncing around.
So bouncing around.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because delay is next.
Eighth note delay. Eighth dotted.
Sure. Saturation.
I mean, Frank's Red Hot.
Saturation knob. Live.
Yeah.
Live.
Disaster.
I know what you mean.
Unnamed tour.
Studio.
Vocal booth.
Cool. Master bus.
More saturation.
Yes. Tape.
Yeah.
Steven Slate. I don't know if you have the everything bundle.
That's what I just got. I'm kind of exploring that right now.
You're gonna love it. It's great. Yeah. I couldn't say enough about what he puts out. Really fell in love with the 1/2-inch tape emulation. A lot of crazy things happen. It's strange. It actually sounds like, it's weird. It almost sounds like there's more headroom when you put it on. That doesn't make any sense because it's squashing things, but I don't know. It's weird. Put it on your drum. Yeah. Put it on your drum bus and it will feel like everything goes from here to like there.
Interesting.
Yeah. It feels like 48K is like more than that.
Huh.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know how to describe it.
I've been impressed with it so far. I haven't tried that plugin yet. I'm still messing around with a virtual mix rack.
You'll be screwing around with that for days. I mean, it's, that thing is that thing is, I mean, just the, I mean, talking about saturation, just those channel strip plugins are amazing. The London and the New York and the LA, like they all have these different vibes to them, and the mix knob with all, dude, I love it.
Yeah, it's a sea of opportunity.
Yeah, he's got those the mag EQ emulation. Yeah, very, very tight EQs, really good. All right, last one. Long Island iced tea.
Reminds me of a unnamed tour.
Right. Oh man, good times.
Yeah, very
good breakdowns.
Yeah.
All right, so I always ask this question at the end. Thanks again for your time, man. This is great. And we'll be posting it on YouTube and all those.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's been a blast.
Of course. If you could go back in time to your 15-year-old self, knowing what you know now with your experiences, what would you tell him?
I'd say do your thing. Don't let anybody tell you can't. Don't let anybody slow you down, and don't listen to that kind of influence. You can do what you want to do. You're in control of that.
That's good.
Yeah.
I had a flashback. If you have time, can you walk us through the what was it, the Burger King incident, or was it Burger King, what the drive-through incident?
Oh, wait, are you talking about when I used to work there as a kid?
There was something that went down, and there was like cops involved. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember there was somebody like some guy was drunk driving in the drive-through, and he had his kid there, and like we had to call the cops on him so that like he didn't drive. I mean, he was like falling asleep at the wheel.
Well, I think it had to do with somebody with a gun.
Oh, somebody with a gun.
I don't know if that was Burger King. It might have been.
Yeah, okay, that was an Arbys experience.
Arby's!
And someone tried to rob the Arbys at like midnight or something, and
you went after the guy.
Yeah, I was in my car because I was out in the parking lot when he jumped out, and then like I drove around in a circle and like started yelling out the window at him as he was like, he had the manager at gunpoint leading her like back into the store, and I was yelling at him from my car, and he like took off into the woods. It was a crazy, crazy night.
Yeah, dude. I remember you told me that, and I was like, what in the world?
Oh yeah, I mean, anyone who's ever worked fast food can agree that they will. You don't ever know what you're going to see when you come into work.
Right. Anyway, I don't know why I thought of that. It was just like,
I don't know.
It's just out of nowhere, dude. There's moments where there's so many things out of nowhere that it's like, man, I gotta text Worth, I gotta call Worth. And half the time I don't do it, but
just random things, I mean, anytime I've seen reference to Tim Tebow or
I still can't figure out the King James round table thing. I still can't.
I can't either.
I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember the context, but I do remember it often.
Still can't remember. I think that one's a goner, man. I don't think that one's going to be retrievable.
No, it's been too long.
Well, good times. As far as your description box below, because it'll be on YouTube, and we'll have it, the side description with Spotify, iTunes, Simplecast, iHeartRadio, all of that. We'll have it all there, but where can people find you guys?
We're on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, of course. Connect on Instagram. Those are the main platforms.
Sea of Tranquility, right? At Sea of Tranquility. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Well, thanks again, and thank you guys for tuning in. It's the Jason Damico show, and we will talk to you and see you on the next one. Peace.